In Donald Trump's administration, the cruelty is always the point. They want to inflict the most amount of pain they possibly can on the people who they view as their enemies. And oftentimes, they are our allies or they are Americans, which is exactly what we saw with Donald Trump's illegal and immoral deportation of Abrego Garcia, who the Supreme Court just ruled against Donald Trump on. And when Karoline Leavitt was asked about that, her response was exactly what you would expect. Angry and lashing out. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, Karoline Leavitt was asked a lot of questions that got her upset in this press conference, so I want to start with the treatment of our allies right here.
Hey, why would any of our allies work with us to isolate China in a trade war if we're treating friend and foe alike?
You'll have to talk to our allies who are reaching out to us. The phones are ringing off of the hooks. They've made it very clear they need the United States of America. They need our markets. They need our consumer base. You saw Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the Oval Office with the president saying that he was going to bring down all of their monetary tariffs and their non-monetary tariff trade barriers as well. We've heard from South Korea. We've heard from Japan. The president has spoken to Vietnam. We have Italy coming to the White House next week. There's a reason for that, Sean, and it's because they need the United States of America and our business model and our markets to survive, and the president is using that leverage to our advantage. Michael.
I don't know why Karoline Leavitt thinks that she can spin our allies actively turning against us, and by the way, hurting the U.S. markets because of that, weakening the strength of the dollar, because our allies don't trust us, because of how destabilized this country has become, not only our economy, but our institutions as well. If other countries can't trust the law and order of the United States, they can't trust anything. And that's disappeared under Donald Trump. Karoline Leavitt can't spin that. She also can't spin the raw numbers of how afraid regular Americans are of the economy. She was asked about that right here.
And out of respect for our good friend Peter. Jeff.
Why is American consumer confidence so low?
Look, I think there's a great optimism in this economy, great optimism for the American people, a lot of reason for people to feel optimistic. The president is, as I just said, trying to renegotiate the global trade agenda that has ripped off the American people for far too long. As he said, this is going to be a period of transition. He wants consumers to trust in him, and they should trust in him. Look at what he did in his first term. And I just want to reiterate all of the reasons to be confident since you asked, Jeff. For those watching at home, yesterday, the CPI report, inflation declined massively. Consumer prices are dropping for the first time in years. Energy prices are down. In fact, oil prices are down 20% since this president took office. Wholesale prices fell again. There have been trillions of dollars in investments into this country. Every day, the president is signing executive orders to cut regulation, especially when it comes to Environmental Protection Agency, our energy industry. That's going to unleash the economic boom in this country that we saw in the president's first term. So trust in President Trump. He knows what he's doing. This is a proven economic formula.
What does he ask?
Of course, consumer confidence is low. People don't know what's happening. That has been the Trump administration. It is incompetence paired with chaos. We don't know if the tariffs are back tomorrow. The White House said they wouldn't even report the list of the 70 countries that are supposedly going to negotiate their tariffs. We don't know what is happening, and that distrust is leading people to hoard cash in the business sector and not want to purchase goods in the consumer sector. Like, this is an economic catastrophe, and it's because of Donald Trump, and they're claiming that they don't actually care. That's not what they're looking at. That's not how they're measuring the success, quote unquote, of tariffs. And Karoline Leavitt made that really clear when she was asked about Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
About tariffs. There have been big swings this week in the Treasury bond yields. There's a theory that it might be because of China dumping these as leverage, driving up costs for U.S. loans like mortgages. Does the White House have evidence that this is in fact a result of Chinese dumping, and if so, is there a message on that?
Not to my knowledge, but I would check in with the Treasury Department on that. I can tell you I know our Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, is keeping a very close eye on the bond market. He spoke about it at the White House this week, and I know he's keeping his eyes on it day to day. Ed.
Thanks. Thank you.
So this just goes to illustrate a point I've been making a lot about the tariffs, is that there is no grounding principle in them. There is no clear outcome that they are looking for. If Scott Bessent is looking at the bond yields, but we're also looking at the stock market, but we're also just going off of Donald Trump's whims, what are we trying to accomplish here? None of it makes any sense. There is no fundamental end goal. It is just based on whatever Donald Trump wants, which is the same thing with his mass deportation plan. He just wants to look strong and tough. It's the same thing with tariffs. It's just about appearance. And he also wants to look evil, which is exactly how Karoline Leavitt came across. She was asked this question right here.
Real quick, the president of El Salvador is coming to the White House on Monday. Does President Trump want him to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia with him?
The Supreme Court made their ruling last night very clear that it's the administration's responsibility to facilitate the return, not to effectuate the return. I believe the Department of Justice just filed another brief in the lower court. I would defer you to that for any updates. But as you mentioned, President Bukele will be here at the White House on Monday to talk about the cooperation that is at an all-time high.
You're not going to effectuate his release, his return to the United States? Are you somehow saying that Abrego Garcia, the man who was kidnapped and shipped to a torture prison in El Salvador, is somehow the problem here? You don't like him? He hurt his you hurt. I can't even. What? Like, you have your feelings hurt by him. He's created problems for you, and so you're mad. This is the worst collection of people in the world. These are awful human beings working in our White House. To act like this man is somehow, it is an imposition upon you. Oh, we have to return him? Oh, man. Disgusting. Karoline Leavitt is. Oh, we said we'd do it. We don't have to do it nicely. She sounds like a child. It's gross. It is just gross. And when she's not sounding like a child because she's sounding pouty, it's because she's sounding stupid. Take a listen right here.
Sure. Thanks, Caroline. President Trump has said China wants to make a deal on tariffs. The president says he has a great relationship with Chinese President Xi. He's willing to speak with him directly. Why doesn't the president just pick up the phone and get this ball going?
All of the things the president just said are true. The president, as I said from the podium just a few days ago when I was up here, would be gracious if China intends to make a deal with the United States. If China continues to retaliate, it's not good for China. The United States of America is the strongest, best economy in the world, as evidenced by the more than 75 countries who have called the administration immediately to cut good deals. So the president wants to do what's right for the American people. He wants to see fair trade practices around the globe, and that's his intention and his goal.
So is he waiting for China to make the first move here?
I'm not going to comment on communications that are happening or may not be happening, or either way. We'll leave it to our national security team to get these discussions underway. And as always, in the effort of transparency, we will provide updates moving forward. But the president has made it very clear he's open to a deal with China.
Why is he
I don't know if y'all have realized, I don't like Karoline Leavitt very much. I don't think she's good at her job. The word trickery there, I'm not going to talk about a deal that has been done or not done, or who hasn't, or who has reached out to anyone about reaching out. The word, again, I've said this before. Didn't love Kayleigh McEnany. I thought she was better at the job. Karoline Leavitt is just like word salad vomit all the time. Like bad word salad. I don't know what she's trying to communicate. And that is the theme of the Trump administration to me, is I don't know what they're trying to do. It's never quite clear what the end goal is. Obviously, it's always to serve billionaires and help Donald Trump, but they have no real objective except break everything, which is usually the point, right? It's the Russ Vought quote we always come back to. He wants government workers to feel traumatized. They want people to think the government is broken, and they're doing a great job at it. Chris Hayes gave a very important but devastating report about just how bad we should feel about what the government's doing right here.
It is almost impossible to keep up with all the destruction being caused by Donald Trump, even when it's your job to do so, like it is mine. Now, some of this we basically knew was going to happen, right? He campaigned on it. But then there are the things that just never came up in the campaign that are now happening. Some are cruel and seemingly pointless, things that make you wonder, who voted for this? For instance, who voted against National History Day? It's a nationwide history competition that more than 500,000 students work to qualify for each year. And it is, well, awesome and adorable. In fact, this is a celebration that kicked off their awards ceremony last year. You can see just how psyched all the kids are and how much they love it.
National History Day is a project-based learning experience for students in grades 6 through 12.
They get to pick their own topic within the constraints of the theme and the time period.
You can do an exhibit, you can do a performance, you can write a traditional historical paper, or you can make a website or documentary, which are the digital versions.
National History Day is a really amazing experience.
It's a great experience to learn about something that you're actually interested in.
I learned how to deep dive into a topic and learn more about how to capture someone's personality and capture their whole story.
It was just amazing to see other people excited about the same thing that I was.
I love being able to talk to people with different beliefs and from different parts of the country and other countries too.
You really get in this room and you see an entire room filled with exhibits. You realize they're not really your competitors. They're kind of the friends that you always wanted to have in high school.
I mean, come on. This is the most amazing, all-American, wholesome, non-ideological, non-political thing I can imagine, right? And if you look at any local news, seriously, over the past few weeks, you will see articles about students in places like Iowa or Texas or Mississippi or Ohio or Missouri or Pennsylvania proudly qualifying for their regional competition. And then once they clear that, they go to the big national competition, which was set to start in just 9 weeks. But last week, Donald Trump and Elon Musk killed its funding. Why? Who can say? Who the heck knows? So the executive director had to take to social media asking folks to donate so the kids can make it to the national competition in June.
This means the loss of more than $336,000 over this year and next. Now, part of that funding was to support the national contest. So now we need your help. We need to raise in the next few months about $132,000 to make History Day happen in June.
Think about these numbers for a second. In the context of the federal government and Doge and Elon Musk, the world's richest man, and the efficiencies they're bringing. $336,000 over 2 years? Or $132,000 for the competition this year? $132,000 is what they're saving, the taxpayer. And that's all that is standing between these kids and this big national award that will imprint on them for life. Donald Trump could skip one golf weekend down in Florida, and the savings could fund National History Day for decades. Elon Musk gets millions of dollars a day in federal contracts. I wonder if in the campaign, one of the candidates ran on the promise to destroy a history contest for sixth graders, if that would have affected anyone's decision. Seriously, who voted for this?
All right, pack it up. I just can't. These are the worst people. It always just comes back to this. These are the worst people who want to inflict maximum pain. That's what they're all about. And we are about, on this show, calling that out. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.